75% of all suicides are men. Less and less men are getting college degrees, and so many young men are dropping out of society and giving up and quitting in droves, right? Dropping out of university, no job, no friends, nothing. And the worst part is, we're being told that it's our fault every single time, that we just need to pull ourselves up by our bootstraps. We're not doing this, we're not doing that. It's because of us. But what if I told you that it isn't as much our fault as people really tell us? The thing is that in today's world, men are struggling, okay? And there is what you may have already heard of, the male loneliness epidemic going on. And more and more young men, as I mentioned, are dropping out of society and they're just giving up, not even dating, no friendships, nothing, and basically just staying inside all day playing video games, not creating anything, not fighting towards anything, and we're not even really given much to fight for. So in today's video, I wanted to talk about the male loneliness epidemic. I also wanted to talk about this whole issue with men. And the reason why I think it's so important to talk about is because it's such a rampant issue. And whenever people are isolated and in chaos, downtrodden, there is always going to be people who will take advantage of that. And that's what the whole manosphere is. And you may have seen all those people. I'm not going to name any names. I don't like to name names of people I don't know personally, but you know who I'm talking about. All these grifters taking advantage of lonely young men who are lost, desperate for purpose, desperate for a place to belong, all of that. But today I wanted to talk about what you can do to avoid all of that and why it even happens in the first place. So the thing is that in today's world, as I mentioned, men are not really given much to fight for. And we're basically being told that everything is our fault in a day and age where jobs are so hard to get and everything is so extremely expensive. Men cannot even get jobs to put food on the table, to provide for their family, and AI is taking over entire careers, and entire line of work is just being taken up by AI, and is just fields that used to be so lucrative even just a couple years ago, not even 10 years ago, right? Everybody is saying that you should avoid them. I even remember when I was in high school, everybody said to study computer science, but now they're saying that computer science is one of the top degrees you should avoid. And I constantly hear people say that who study computer science have credentials and everything, that they can't get anything. People who are in my area personally, they can't get internships in it at all. And when that happens, when men are not given opportunities, they're not given a chance to fight for something, for someone, then what are we going to do? That's when loneliness really happens. Because a lot of people like to say that, I've talked about loneliness multiple times in my videos. A lot of people say that loneliness is just about, oh, you're not doing this and you just have to do this one simple thing, you just have to be more social. But really, loneliness is a lack of kind of warmth and connection, not being energized by relationships. And if you don't have people to protect, provide, be useful towards, which is what makes up most of a man's existence, then of course you're going to be lonely. If you're just being told that you're useless and you're worthless. Because when it comes to me, for example, I look back at my entire life and I realize that, I've mentioned this a few times in my previous videos, I look back and I realize that nobody really took the time to teach me a single thing. I didn't learn anything, hard skills or even soft skills. I had to teach myself all of it, completely alone, by just having conversations with myself in my room. And even just simple things, I'm a big believer in fitness, that fitness is extremely important. And I know people are going to say, well, of course, but you'd be surprised by how many people just neglect exercise completely. But I love going to the gym. I love practicing martial arts and other things like calisthenics and running and all of that. But the thing is that I had to get into all of these things completely by myself. There wasn't anybody who instilled this belief in me that I must become strong, I need to be physically capable, I need to work on my endurance and my strength. There was nobody who took the time to tell me that. It was because I always got bullied so badly that I had to look and realize that I am an easy target and I need to then work on that and improve that. And now I go to the gym, but I even remember my very first day at the gym very vividly. I was so awkward. I didn't know what I was doing. I was using the equipment incorrectly. People were staring at me like I was an alien. If you go to the gym, on some machines they have information that's written down that literally nobody reads, but I would stop to awkwardly read it. and it was so awkward that even the employees could tell I didn't know what the hell I was doing. So without me asking, they just show up and start explaining it to me because they could tell I didn't know what I was doing at all. But then I remember that was a couple years ago. But then I remember last year the gym I go to closed down. So I had to go to another gym. It closed down for renovations. I had to go to another gym. And at this gym, I remember while I was resting in between sets, one day I saw a father bring his son and daughter to the gym with him, and they looked very, very young, 14 to 16 years old or something like that. And but that's basically the minimum age to enter a gym. In case you're wondering, you have to be, most places say that you have to be at least 14 years old to get a gym membership. It was as if as soon as they became of age, he took his son and daughter both to the gym. And I remember he was teaching them how to do an exercise. The exercise, I even remember, it was shoulder press, and he was teaching them how to do it. And he explained this is how you do it, proper form and everything. And then he had his son, he told his son and daughter to take turns. He had his son go up and try it, and the dad, of course, looked like he worked out too. And when the son was struggling to get one more rep in, his dad pushed him to get one more rep in. And I even remember just watching this the whole time while I was resting and thinking to myself, I really wish somebody did that for me. I really wish I had a influential figure like that in my life, a role model like that who did that for me. Look at my first day at the gym. I had to figure everything out completely by myself. I was so awkward, but these kids are so lucky to have a dad who is a strong man, of course, a strong father who can bring them and teach them how to do it. And I know that those kids will likely be so grateful to their dad in just a few years, even, because I wish somebody did that for me too. For me, I started when I was 18, and I did it because I was horribly bullied. I didn't do it because somebody told me that. All people ever did my entire life was criticize me, not teaching me a single thing. And there are many young men who are also raised by single mothers as well. And oftentimes, if you lack a father figure, any influential male role model in your life, that is going to seriously be so detrimental to your upbringing as a young man. Because I'm not trying to sound like one of those manosphere people, but all things considered, men have very specific roles in society and in people's lives. All right, men are supposed to be strong. We are supposed to be protectors, providers, leaders, warriors. We are supposed to be useful. But if all you are given is just raised by emotional people, sensitive people, then what is going to become of you? Because my whole life, the people I was around were either so abusive, angry, and aggressive. You had to constantly walk on eggshells around them. You couldn't even ask them a question or even kind of push back against them without them getting their feelings hurt. Or people who are so inassertive, they just couldn't exert themselves towards anything at all, not even a little bit. Anything that even kind of takes a little bit of effort, it kind of takes a little bit of exertion, they just can't do it because it's just too difficult, and they just always need to do whatever is easy and comfortable and fun. My entire life I've been surrounded by these two people. My parents were the latter, the kind of an assertive type as well, especially my mom. She's a good person, a very good person, but she is very sensitive. And I've been surrounded by so many narcissistic people. My friends that I had growing up were just kids who just kind of just kept to themselves, didn't raise their hand in class, and kind of just stuck to studying. But some of them didn't even take studying seriously because that was too difficult. They literally had to do whatever was easy and comfortable. I at least took my studies seriously, but I was surrounded by these people my whole life, right? Narcissistic, antisocial people, or inassertive people. What do you think that teaches you? Nothing. I look back at my whole life and I realize that there are barely any people who I even have any respect for, because pretty much everybody failed me. That's how it was. Everybody failed me, and all anybody said was, you can't do this, you will never do that. But they didn't take the time to teach me anything. And the worst part is that, especially now that I've been uploading these YouTube videos and I've been reading your guys' comments, I realized that it's possible that I always had potential. I even remember very much when I was a kid, whenever the teacher would ask a question in class, I always had the answer in my mind, but I just didn't have the kind of aggression, the kind of confidence to raise my hand up and say anything. And then another kid would say the same thing I was thinking, and the teacher would say, yes, correct, that's the answer. I had that answer too, but I was so afraid of being wrong and being criticized and I wanted to make myself invisible so badly so that nobody can judge me, that right, that's what I did. I just hid from the world. And big chances are, as a young man, that's what you've been taught as well. But the thing is that, like I mentioned, when there are young men specifically who are like this, who are lost, who are lonely, there's always going to be a bunch of douchebags who show up and take advantage of that. When there is chaos, there are people who are going to round up that chaos in the worst possible way because it's just easy and it suits their needs. They're going to show up, they're going to tell you to buy this course and do this and do that. They're going to tell you to disrespect women. They're going to tell you to do all these ridiculous things because they will teach you that this is what strength looks like. If you can talk over people, you can yell at people, verbally abuse people, put another person down to make yourself feel powerful, that is what strength looks like. And these people are going to act like they know the answers. They're going to tell you, yeah, join this Bitcoin Discord server or whatever so that you can make crypto money or something like that. But they're not going to actually teach you what it really means to become a strong man, a strong husband, a strong father, a strong son, a strong brother, etc., when that's what matters the most. And young men who lack a father figure, they're going to look at these people and they're going to follow them, because a lot of statistics are saying that nowadays most young men are falling right, or becoming right leaning. They're, and not only right leaning, but they're falling down the alt right pipeline. Okay, and the reason why they're becoming radicalized, they're believing all these ridiculous things, all of that is because these grifters, they are listening to these young men. The hard part is, I've talked about this in a previous video where I talked about, right, all these kind of things and lost and lonely young men. But the thing is that these young men, they are so badly criticized. But what people don't realize is that when it comes to people like incels, for example, everybody says that incels are just losers, they don't have any friends, they can't get a date. But the thing is that not all incels are the misogynistic kind, or the kind that are planning terrorist attacks. That's just a really extreme end. And misogyny at its and inceldom at its core is not even about misogyny. It's just most incels are just lonely, lost, downtrodden, bullied, depressed young men. All they need is literally just a friend. That's it. Just a person who will sit with them and ask them how their day was. That's all they really actually need. All these talks about statistics and all these complicated right terminology that they're always on about, all they need is to just have a friend that will sit there with them. Because most of these incels, most of these lost, lonely young men, they have literally never been spoken to like a human being, not once in their entire life. They've been spoken to like a disobedient dog pretty much their whole life. And that goes for me as well. All people ever did my whole life is, as I mentioned, you can't do this, you will never do that, you must do this. And big chances are that has also applied to you as well. But the truth is, all incels need is somebody who will sit down with them and ask, what is your favorite TV show? What do you like to eat? What do you do for fun? That's all they need. They just need somebody who listens to them. But the dangerous part is that, like I said, when there is chaos, that creates a kind of power vacuum, or in general, a vacuum in general for the worst kind of people to fill in and take advantage. And as long as anybody listens to these young men and tells them what they want to hear and tells them how to reclaim their power, these young men will become radicalized and believe the worst possible things ever, because they're being told that this is the solution. And as far as they're concerned, it is because finally somebody is listening to me. They're not blaming me for everything. They're telling me that it's not my fault and I'm doing the right thing, and this is just what I have to do. If I talk over other people, if I am rude, if I am narcissistic, if I'm arrogant, and if I go around acting like I know everything and I'm better than other people, I'll be strong and people can't bully me anymore and I can live the life that I want. But of course, this is not what real strength looks like. Real strength is about uplifting other people. It's about doing the right thing, breaking the cycle and being better than the people who abused and hurt you. But all these grifters are going to show up and tell young men that this is what it takes, and they're surrounded by expensive sport cars and attractive women, and these young men, they look at that without even hearing what these men have to say and think to themselves, well, look, they have these things, they're rude and disrespectful, but they have all these things, that's what I also have to do, and I can be, if I have to be like them, and I can get those things as well. Because as long as these young men are listening or being listened to, that's how they will get what they want. They just want their agendas to be validated, and they want to be told that, like I said, it's not their fault and this is the solution. But the truth is that when we're talking about the male loneliness epidemic and lost, lonely, isolated young men who do not have a purpose, the key is not to rely on other people, these grifters who tell you what to do. And that goes for me as well. I'm just some guy over the internet. I'm not anybody's dad. I'm not your guys' brother or whatever. I don't want to be. Do not look for these role models in other people, right? Ideally, the role model you should be looking up to is the immediate male role model in your life, your father, your elder brother, your uncle, your grandfather. If you don't have that kind of person, then you have to be that person for yourself and another person. And ultimately, whatever you want comes from you, not by smoking, not by vaping, not by watching porn, not by playing video games all day, not by abusing people, screaming at them, disrespecting women, but by realizing that whatever you want comes from inside of you. And if you want to be a strong person, you have to create your own purpose. Whatever you want, you have to make it with your own hands. You have to become a leader. You have to become a warrior. You have to use your voice for the right reasons and use everything that you have for the right reasons. That's if you are a mentally weak person, that is how you get radicalized. If you are a person who just listens to anybody who is willing to speak to you and say all the right things, and you're just going to buy whatever they're selling, that is how you get taken advantage of. And that's how you get promised that, oh, if you pay for this every month, then I'm going to teach you how to make 10K a month. I'm going to teach you how to get a date. I'm going to teach you how to do this. But nobody can give you what you want other than yourself. And it's obviously very difficult, but reach out to other lonely men, inspire them to do the same thing, work towards becoming strong for yourself and with them, and maybe we all have a chance and we're all going to make it. But otherwise, yeah, I hope this video could help somebody, and thanks for watching.